Discovered that my roommate is lying to her new boyfriend about being a virgin, and finding out that both me and my other roommate have slept with him. I live in a house shared with 3 other girls, me, Sally, Holly, and Lisa. Sally, Holly and I went to school together. Holly and I were, and are, fairly close, and Lisa is her cousin who I've known for years. Sally is someone we've always known and got on well with, but isn't really a great friend. She needed a place to live and we needed a roommate. While we all kind of run in different circles, everyone knows everyone where we live, so while I wouldn't hang out with the same small group as Lisa or Sally, we end up at the same parties and know the same people. Anyway, recently Sally had been dating a guy, but we haven't met him. She's kind of embarrassed about her past boyfriends. One was abusive, one cheated on her, so we didn't pry. Also, she has a tendency to be dramatic as fuck, which can get exhausting if you get sucked in, so we tend to stay out of her business a lot. He has a fairly generic name, we'll call him Tom. She's been dating Tom for 4 months now, but they hadn't had sex. Until last night. Holly, Sally and I have a WhatsApp group for the 3 of us. Lisa isn't in it, I think because Sally started the group and those 2 aren't close at all. She messaged us last night to mention she was having a friend round, wink nudge, and to ask if we were okay with it. We were both at a bar, said great, go for it. Happy times. In the morning we receive a message on the same group saying, guys, Tom and I lost our virginities to each other last night. I'm so happy. Followed by a biblical arc's worth of emojis. Now I'm sat here baffled by this message when Holly knocks on the bedroom door and comes in, and asks me how on earth Sally has managed to lose her virginity twice. Sally is a Christian. Very devout when you ask her about her religion, but not that great in practice. This is nothing to do with any of us girls, so we don't care. But this was kind of weird. We were a little dumbfounded but went downstairs and made coffee. A couple hours later, we hear Sally walk downstairs and a guy's voice in the background. They pop their heads and as Sally says, hi guys, this is Tom. He quickly says hello and then leaves. Issue, I've had sex with this guy. Sally sits down and we ask her about the virginity thing, in a friendly money way. She tells us no, because she is Christian she is a virgin, because the past boyfriends treated her so badly that she had cleansed her life of them and is a virgin again. We're apparently also ignoring the several one-night stands I've overheard through my bedroom ceiling. So we ask if she's told Tom that she's a virgin. She says yes because I am. And he's a virgin too, so I thought it would sound better. I've dealt with her denial issues before but this is quite a new level. Sally leaves and I quickly turn to Holly and tell her I've slept with him. As I mentioned before, Holly and I are close, but we know a lot of the same people. Holly tells me that she's been to a party with him also and Lisa slept with Tom at that party. So what do I do? At first I felt bad for the guy for being lied to about Sally's virginity, but now he's doing the same thing? And the fact that 75% of our house has slept with him is a little icky. Do we tell her? Do we tell him? Do we leave them to it? Do we get Tom to sleep with Holly so she doesn't feel left out? Update 1. So since Sally lost her virginity, I'm rolling my eyes just typing it. Tom has stayed round basically every night. This is fine with all of us, if a bit awkward. There's sort of an unspoken rule in our house that boyfriends are allowed round whenever without anyone needing to clear it first. If we see each other in the day, it's courtesy to mention, oh by the way, boyfriend is coming round later today, but no one has an issue if it's not brought up prior to the visit. They're not sleeping in any communal areas, and we have enough bathrooms that shower time is never an issue. So Tom has been in the house most evenings but we've barely seen him. They're still in the weird sex stage of their relationship where they only leave the bedroom for snacks and Powerade and to wash their sheets, I hope, so it's not like anyone's avoiding anyone. So 2 days ago Tom must have been at work, because Sally was alone in the house, eating lunch. Holly and I were on our way out, about to go shopping, when Sally asked if she could tag along. We said sure, we were just going to get shampoo and toiletries, but she said that was fine because she only needed to get one specific thing. When we got to the mall, Holly went to get an eye test. She'd been due one a while, and I was planning on just browsing for some work clothes. But Sally grabbed my arm and said you have to help me. While giggling, and dragged me into a store. Guys. She made me go to a lingerie shop and find a sexy nun costume with her. I felt like a deer in headlights when you're paralyzed with fear, except instead of fear it's just inappropriateness and discomfort. I just stood there nodding and fighting the urges to laugh hysterically and cry simultaneously and looking for an escape route when she weighed the pros and cons of different Catholic-themed sex outfits. I got home, popped a straw in a bottle of wine and told Holly about my traumatizing experience. She howled. Moving on to today. About 30 minutes ago actually. Sally had a really early start at work, stock check or something, and had to leave before Tom woke up. While I was eating breakfast he walked into the kitchen and looked pretty shocked to see me. We said hi awkwardly, made niceties about the weather and asked each other about school and work. I assumed that would be it, but he addressed the elephant in the room. Tom, hey, I don't want this to be awkward about us hooking up in the past. I haven't told Sally, I done, if you were planning on telling her. Me, I wasn't planning on it, no. That's your business. Tom, okay great. It's just I'm worried she'll freak out, but I don't want to lie to her. Me, Well, maybe telling her you're a virgin wasn't the best idea then. Tom laughs, what? I don't know if she made it up in her head or she really believes it or she knows everything, but Tom assured me he had never told her he was a virgin. It was all okay, he assumed I'd heard Sally wrong. Then he said something along the lines of Sally being a virgin and maybe she was ashamed, and I tried so hard not to make any kind of facial expression but, again, mornings are not my happy place, and it must have shown. Tom asked me if Sally really was a virgin and I just mumbled you should talk to her about it and I don't actually know, because in my defense I've never seen her be penetrated, but it's a pretty bullshit defense, so sorry Tom, my bad, I panicked. He said goodbye to me and walked off, furiously texting. So yeah, I'll be updating this over the next few hours probably. Edit, just woke up to enough emojis that my phone nearly imploded. They're from Sally as you can guess. They're in the WhatsApp group with Holly, and are mostly crying face and dead face, a few bow and arrows followed by hearts, and a couple boy emoji next to the knife and fork emoji? Not entirely sure what that's about. I can't seem to find a fan emoji to put the poop one next to, but you get the idea. Not sure if Sally's at home at the moment or not, she wasn't meant to be working late and I don't remember hearing her come home. I'm gonna pop in and see if Holly's awake and then possibly barricade her door shut. Edit 2, I've been sat in Holly's bed for the last hour, while she's been reading both my posts and all your comments. She's loving the replies by the way, and is refusing to be called anything but madam now. Also anyone who PM'd to ask if we're lesbians, sorry no. We ran upstairs to see if Sally was in her room. The door is locked so we think she's asleep in there, but she isn't answering any WhatsApps. Just chilling in the calm before the storm, practicing some sweet judo moves in case anything kicks off. I'm kidding, it won't. Edit 3, okay I shit you not, we've just had the police at the door. Sally was apparently caught trying to break into Tom's house after he told her to leave him alone and threatened to call the police. Except he hadn't threatened, he'd done it. She resisted arrested and was popped in a nice little cell at about 2 a.m. She looks exhausted, bless her, but I guess a day's stalking will do that to you. She looks really sad and I feel so bad for her. Holly's running her a bath now and I'm going to make some tea. I don't know what happened between them but it looks like it fell on the not so chill side of the scale. Update 2. So the police dropped Sally off at home. They asked to have a quick chat with me about what happened, probably a good idea, because Sally's version was ever so slightly different, sigh, while Holly took Sally upstairs to get changed and whatever else she needed to do. The officer, who was super fine, not gonna lie, maybe he can do the rounds after Tom has left, told me that Tom called the police at 1 a.m. because Sally was harassing him over the phone and throwing rocks at his window. By the time they got there Tom had rang 3 more times, and Sally was climbing up a fence and shimmying over onto the kitchen roof, some fucking Batman shit right there. They tried to talk her down, where she was screaming and crying, they thought she might be on some sort of drugs, but I told them it's just her personality and a bit of caffeine usually. I laughed. He didn't. I'm glad you guys think I'm funny. Anyway, she tried to struggle when they restrained her and went to kick one of the officers, and at that point they were done being sympathetic, and popped her in the police car and into a cell. She's absolutely tiny so they didn't have to use force or anything. She's fine, I promise. They asked us to contact her parents, because she refused to give them any contact details for her family. She would only tell them her address that she lives at with us. And guess who's off work this week so gets to play babysitter. Fan-fucking-tastic. Once they left, we got her in the bath and Holly and I sat on the bathroom floor talking to her about what happened. She was just crying into the bath and looked so sad and vulnerable and I felt really awful for mocking her on this sub and stuff. Then she started explaining. We asked what happened. Sally said Tom texted her while she was at work saying we need to talk after work and she immediately panicked, because it's Sally. She blew up his phone. She didn't tell me this, she said she left him 3 missed calls, but she showed me her phone and the call log showed nearly 40. She then said he was such an asshole because he didn't message her to tell her he was okay, while she was worried thinking he could be dead. How Sally, how could he be dead if he texted you? My sympathy was now waning a little, but I was trying to be supportive. Once Sally finished work, she managed to get through to Tom on the phone. He told her that he had to confess and he wasn't a virgin, and didn't want to corrupt her innocence so he had to let her go. At this point Holly took in a really deep breath, stood up and muttered something about needing more coffee, and walked out. I sort of asked Sally if she was sure that's what he said, because it didn't make sense, and she nodded really aggressively, calling him a bastard for tricking her. I was trying to be gentle, rather than just calling her out on her bullshit, because she hadn't slept and she was an emotional mess, so I asked why she didn't just tell Tom that she wasn't a real virgin. That was a mistake. She started crying and yelling about being a virgin again. Thanks for that phrase whoever oined it in the first post, and how her virginity is her decision. Jennifer Lawrence. Oh okay then. GIF. Holly walked in with coffees and teas and Sally calmed down. She gave Sally her tea and gave me a coffee. I looked at her. I don't drink coffee and Holly knows this, and she just raised her eyebrows and nodded. I took a sip and it was mostly whiskey. Gotta love the girl. We asked Sally why she went to Tom's house. She said he invited her over to talk about them and work it out. My acute critical thinking skills tell me this is bullshit. Sally said he didn't answer the door, and she got concerned that he once again, could be dead. Tom is clearly accident prone as fuck, and she needed to check he was okay. Hence the climbing. Because even though he's an asshole and she hates him, she still cares about him, and needed to know he was alright. She finished work sometime between 4 to 6 p.m., that's her usually shifts, and was arrested at 2 a.m. so I have no idea what she did during those hours. Probably built a lair with a map with lots of strings attached to photos with thumbtacks and newspaper cuttings stuck on the wall. It doesn't seem like we'll be getting a very clear picture of what actually happened from Sally, but you can piece a lot of bits together and figure she just went all girl and erupted on him. Oh, and at least 2 times in the conversation she mentioned she was worried she could be pregnant. Again, I'm bargaining on this being hysterical lack of sleep bullshit. So Sally is asleep now, and Holly and I are day drinking. Everything has gone swimmingly. Lisa is away for the next couple days and is blissfully ignorant to everything that's gone on. 2/10 would not do again. Update 3. Edit 5. So Sally slept for about 24 hours, I'm not even kidding. She went to sleep, woke up briefly to raid the fridge, and then went back to sleep. She has a blurry recollection of what happened, and doesn't really remember the bath or telling me what happened. I joked that at least she didn't remember me molesting her, which she laughed at, so she's getting back to herself a bit. This morning I sat her down and asked what was going on. She told me that school has been getting really on top of her, especially with work too and going to all her church meetings and volunteering. I kind of wanted to say well fuck church? But I feel like that's a thing you don't say, and she got some Adderall, I'm assumed Adderall, she just said they were study pills, from a couple guys at school to keep her awake to finish essays. But as it always is with delicious Adderall, people tend to take it a little too far. Not to get all after school special and preachy, but guys, if school is so hard you need to take drugs, maybe we should put ourselves first and become strippers. Anyway, Sally's little pick-me-ups became a regular thing, and none of us noticed because we all get a little caffeine dependent during the school year and she had a pretty screechy voice to begin with. She apologized for going loco and I apologized for being a shitty roommate and not noticing she was crazy. We did a ceremonious flushing of the pills down our least used toilet, PSA, that shit doesn't flush super easily. It was humiliating. I had to claw like 3 of them out of the bowl because they must have gotten fused to the ceramic and I couldn't let Sally do it in case she went all train spotting and shoved them up her butt. It really ruined the moment, and now it's probably going to be our never used toilet because I managed to drop the bag in and I think it fucked up the system because it's blocked. We have a meeting next week with someone at school, I guess a counselor? I didn't speak directly with her on the phone, who's going to talk about healthy ways of dealing with stress. It was just going to be Sally going, but she was nervous so I said I'd go too, and it can't really hurt to know how to calm myself down in a way that isn't alcohol. I asked Sally if she was going to talk her parents about this, but she said no, because as I mentioned in some comments, they're very religious and their suggestion would be pray more. I have their number though, I'll use it if I need to. I asked Sally if she was pregnant and her eyes widened and she looked baffled. She actually said no? Are you? So we can equate that to mild psychosis and crazy bitchness, we've all been there. She also asked me if she thinks Tom would ever speak to her again and I just hugged her and started laughing so she hit me and went really red. Sorry honey, if he comes back after that, you don't want him. So for now, we are back to normal. I think. Sally is still a little crazy, but in the constantly hormonal kind of way. Holly and I haven't had to drink yet today, and Lisa is still fucking oblivious to all of this. She probably won't care. She genuinely doesn't like drama. I'd love to start a blog about us, as many of you have requested, but I'm pretty sure it'd never be as interesting as these posts. Now on to the next story. Slapped my racist mill for accusing me of cheating, now I'm questioning everything and wondering if I should apologize to my husband. Yesterday I slapped my mill in front of my husband. For context, my husband is white and I am mixed. My mom is Puerto Rican and my dad is white. My mom has very dark skin and my dad is pretty fair. I'm pretty white passing, which for those who don't know, means you can't really tell that I am Latina unless I tell you. A running family joke is that melanin skips a generation because my maternal grandpa is also very fair but my maternal great-grandma is very brown. With that out of the way, I'll get into my situation. I have been with my husband for 7 years, married for 5. We have a 3-year-old little girl who is the light of my life. When she was born, she had a head full of dark brown curls, dark brown eyes and a fairly olive complexion. She looks like me when I get tan. You can definitely tell she's part Latino. Despite knowing all this, my mill has gotten it into her head that my daughter isn't my husband's. She's been telling anyone who will listen that I must have had an affair because there's no way her son's child could be that color. Yeah. How nice. My mill has always been standoffish with me. She never made a big effort to get to know me and was always more polite than anything else. Mill has made some offhanded comments before about Latinos, but husband would brush them off because she's from another time. I wanted to write off her behavior as just her not being educated enough. I realize now that was my mistake because it gave her the okay to keep going. When husband and I heard from Sil that Mill was saying this, we invited her over to talk about this. I was really hoping we'd be able to fix this. However, what happened was my Mill going on a rant for like 15 minutes. It consisted of her outing herself as a racist. saying she knew girls like me couldn't control themselves, that she knew from the start what would happen. The nerve I had to pass my daughter off as her, also some very colorful slurs. Husband and I were frozen in shock because she hadn't even stepped into the house and was just screeching on our doorstep. What snapped me out of it was when she started to insult my mom, saying she probably did the same to my dad. I don't know what came over me next. I've never hit someone before. But I ended up smacking her so hard her glasses fell off. That's what got my husband to start talking. Or rather yelling at his mother and me for acting this way while Mill started to wail. Yes. I shouldn't have hit her, I know. That's wrong. But hearing him imply I was in the wrong the same way Mill was made me more angry. I told him he's just as much a racist as his mom if he was trying to make me out to be as bad as her. I got my keys from inside the house while he was trying to calm his mom down and left. I drove to a hotel and spent the night there. Now it's the afternoon and I haven't left the hotel room since checking in. Husband and several other friends and family have been trying to reach me. I only replied to my SIL to tell her I'm safe at a hotel and asked her to not tell my husband what hotel I'm at. Guilt is starting to sink in and I'm questioning everything. Like, did I allow my Mill to do this? Did I showcase behavior that made her think I was cheating? Does husband think I cheated and that's why Mill has this in her head? And of course, should I be apologizing to husband for hitting Mill? I know violence is wrong and I hate making excuses, but I just couldn't handle someone talking about my family that way. So Redditors, should I be apologizing to my husband? How do we get through this? Any and all advice is appreciated. Edit, no. My daughter was not at the house. We sent her to have a weekend sleepover with my sister's family. I'll be picking her up tomorrow afternoon. Edit 2, I have posted an update you can find on my page update 1. I spent quite a bit reflecting and was able to get an emergency meeting with my therapist this morning. I only have my sister here as my parents moved back to Puerto Rico to be with my grandparents 5 years ago. Some questions I want to answer real quick. How old are we? My husband is 28 and I just celebrated my 30th birthday. We met when he was 21 and I was 23. Where was my daughter? I sent her to my sister's on Friday for a weekend sleepover with my sister's family. I picked her up Monday afternoon and we had a little mommy-daughter time going to her favorite place, Costco. Yes, my 3-year-old loves Costco. We got home around 7 after we had dinner. My husband was waiting and I told him we'd talk after kiddo went to bed. When she was for certain asleep, we sat and had a long conversation not just about the fight and his mother, but also race and culture. I saw how my family was treated based on skin color, and while my husband understands racism, he admitted to never really grasping the complexities, especially colorism. A lot of you jumped to me taking my daughter and leaving or telling me he'd leave me. Sorry to disappoint, but no, we're not getting a divorce or anything of the sort. He apologized to me for not standing up for me before and then, acknowledging he didn't want to think of his mother in a racist light. I also apologized for hitting her because in the end, no, it doesn't help us. He did forgive me and said if it wasn't his mom saying it, he'd probably slap them too. We will be going to a marriage counselor, we decided, hoping to find one that specializes in interracial marriage. Our daughter is going to face challenges in the future because of her race. It's sad to say, but unfortunately racism is still alive and we want to know how to protect her and uplift her so she does not feel ashamed of her heritage. We've made the decision to go NC with her and any people who try to bridge communication between us and her. She will have no contact with my daughter unless it's years down the road and she shows significant changes in her behavior. My husband will be driving to her house tomorrow to inform her of our decision. I'd consider a paternity test and DNA test, but only if Mill pays. I don't want to entertain this on my own dime. We've also decided to not make any public post regarding this. If people want to believe her story, that is on them, not us. My husband knows our baby is his. The irony is she looks more like him than me. Her curls are even from him. Update 2. For those of you saying I should be arrested for slapping my Mill, I hate to disappoint, but she is not pressing charges. This is all thanks to my husband who said he'd expose my Phil's various affairs. Yes, it turns out that my Phil cheated numerous times on my Mill until his death 2 years ago. According to hubby, he was paying for sexual favors even on his deathbed. This is deeply disturbing because Phil and Mill appeared to have a loving marriage. Apparently, that was just for show. I can't even begin to imagine how hubby is feeling. We talked about it and he said it's something he felt deep shame for keeping from me, but also shame because his parents' marriage wasn't at all what they pretended it was. Husband and I are still looking for a couples therapist who specializes in interracial marriage. Husband is also looking for a therapist of his own after the conversation with Mill opened his eyes to a lot of other traumas and issues he feels haven't been properly worked through. I'm so proud of him for taking these steps. Now on to how the conversation on Wednesday went, which is of course why I made this update to continue to vent. As I said in my first update, husband went over to Mill's house to inform her that her behavior is unacceptable and will be going NC for the foreseeable future. Mill didn't take this well. The irony is that she told husband that he couldn't keep her from her only grandchild. Funny because she spent the week claiming our daughter wasn't his. She threw some colorful insults at me, claiming he was never like this before he met me and that this was all my idea to hide my apparent affair. In response, husband said if she's so certain that I'm cheating and that our daughter isn't his, she can pay for a paternity test and a pie to find my affair partner. You know, AP that doesn't exist. Husband says Mill's face turned a comical shade of red and he swears there was steam coming from her ears. This is when Mill said she'd press charges and husband said he'd just tell everyone about Phil's serial cheating. Mill apparently burst into tears then, got down on her knees, wailing he couldn't leave her. Hubby just pushed her off and left. I had already blocked her number so she can't contact me, but she blew up husband's phone till he came home and he blocked her. Husband is going to be sending her an email reiterating what he said about NC, and until she proves she's gotten help, understands she was wrong, and apologizes, she won't be seeing any of us. Both of husband's sisters called us to get the scoop and agreed to set the record straight with anyone who tries to get a hold of us for Mill or tries to echo her conspiracy theories. Anyone who wants to back her up can crowdfund for a paternity test and pie. We've spent too long building up our finances to waste them on the ravings of a mad woman. Husband and I did read comments on the posts, I did tell him about it and show him, and we both thank you for the support and helpful comments. Husband has a special message for those doubting me and saying I should get arrested, get fucked incel. I love this man so much and I'm so lucky to call him my husband and the father of my little girl. We'll be celebrating Mill being out of our lives by taking our daughter out to Texas Roadhouse, eating an ungodly amount of rolls, and seeing Despicable Me 4. Wishing everyone love and thank you again for all the support. Edit, I forgot to add this too, but she also threatened grandparents' rights on the grounds that I endangered my daughter by taking the medication I use for my autoimmune disease during pregnancy. We doubt she'll actually go forward with that, but we will consult a lawyer regardless.